Hello there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly virtual productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. Coming soon, I'll be launching a membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. Want to finish strong this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com to request my Zoom room link, or follow the Zoom room link on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 186. Today's working title is Clear is Kind, the Power of Nonverbal Communication. In May, I was invited by South Suburban College to provide a staff professional development session around professional communications. The program coordinators for the staff PD day are the same folks who hire me to teach professional communications along with time management and stress management to their highway construction careers training program students 4 times a year. To introduce the topic of communications, I need to say clear is kind. Clear communication is kind. I have to give credit to my friend and the superintendent who I worked with very closely in my years as Board of Education President, Jenna. She introduced the statement, clear is kind, to me, and it guided our communications every day. Clear is kind. Clear is respectful, even when you don't have easy things to say. Clear is timely. Clear is understanding that different people have different ways and speeds of processing information. Clear communications is kind. Clear is kind. Okay, so the good news is that the professional communications content can be used for any communications, just for being a human being. And the better news is that I am not going to deliver the 60-minute session of content right now, but I will try to break it into consumable pieces to share for the purpose of podcast episodes like this one and maybe a few more coming up. Last week, I wrote about motivation and productivity and how we don't always start out motivated to make progress. But with movement and through our actions, we can generate motivation. So linking those two together, right? Clear communications, time management, motivation, productivity, yes, it is all connected. So as I share today's topic, I want to talk about not talking. So today we're going to look at nonverbal communications. Research tells us that up to 93% of our communications are nonverbal. So the how we say the words we say and adjacent factors are far more important to getting our message across than just the words we use. Now, to be honest, as a podcaster and blogger who's been writing articles for a very long time now and writes a new one every week, that statistic is very humbling to me. That 93% of my communication is not based on the words I choose. Because I really agonize over what words to choose sometimes, but I digress. We're going to look at what makes up nonverbal communication. We can consider how to recognize it in others, but more importantly, we're going to look at how to get clear on what we want to communicate verbally and non-verbally with others. And the last part, or maybe it shouldn't be the end, maybe it's the overarching part, of all of it is, what nonverbal messages are you telling yourself? Because that really matters, especially when we're talking about motivation. We are all part of communication loops. Imagine I am the source of the message, right? So I consider what I want to communicate. That's the message. I consider in what environment and context. So maybe it's a professional message. I consider how I want to communicate it. So like the channel, maybe a podcast episode or a phone call. And who I'm communicating with, and that's the receiver. Hopefully there will be a response, which is feedback. And sometimes there's interference or noise, which is a breakdown at any of those steps. All right, so that was, Communications 101 in like 4 sentences. Those are the basics. But then we find out that as important as all of those things are, in addition to our words, because our words absolutely matter, how we deliver our words, our pitch and volume and inflection and posture is carried along with our message. We pick up on that from others. We send it out to others, and we send it to ourselves. 93%, my friends. So what is nonverbal communication? It's what it sounds like, right? Nonverbal communication is all the parts of how we communicate except for the words. So there are 9 elements of nonverbal communication: facial expressions, gestures, paralinguistics, which is like loudness or pitch, like tone of voice, your body language, proxemics or personal space, eye gaze, touch or haptics, and then appearance and artifacts. Of those, facial expression, body language, and paralinguistics most strongly influence how our messages are conveyed. And if your verbal communication and nonverbal communication don't match, like if you say, "I'm fine," but your facial expression, body language, and paralinguistics convey you are absolutely not fine, that is called incongruence. So if there's incongruence with what we say and how we say it, if those 2 things don't match, we are all more likely to believe the nonverbal. So not the words, but how we say it matters more. And that means even when we talk to ourselves. So how do we get clear? How do we improve our communication in general? But for the purpose of today, how do we improve our nonverbal communication? And how do we cut down on incongruence with others and with ourselves? So I have a few suggestions. The first suggestion is to become a student of yourself, right? So just be aware of how you are communicating in all of those different ways, not just our words, right? So what does my face look and feel like? Is there tension there? Are you scowling? Are you clenching your teeth? What are your gestures saying? Do you talk with your hands like I do? That's okay. But sometimes when we are impatient, maybe we move overly quickly and then we get clumsy. Or are we slow and practiced and methodical? We mentioned last week that movement and then motivation and then momentum, right? So knowing how we move helps us to find motivation and gain momentum. So what are our gestures saying when we communicate? And what is our tone of voice and volume saying as we speak to others or to ourselves? So sarcasm, criticism, scathing words, these serve no one, not others, and certainly not yourself. What is your body language saying to others and to yourself? How are you standing? What's your posture? Are you in an open and receiving stance, or are you closed off? Have you ever heard of fake it till you make it? Now, I am not encouraging us to be disingenuous ever, but there is value in acting confident and motivated until you start to feel confident and motivated. You can always even ask yourself in a situation, well, okay, what would a motivated or successful person do, or how would they stand in this situation? And then when we're thinking of ourselves as we are communicating, what are you known for? And the example that I have here is I was working on a client move project, and because I had been professional and followed up and was ahead of the curve to date, all of the team members assumed the best of me when I dropped the ball. That was really nice of them. And I picked it right back up again, and that was great. So what do you want to be known for? And you can start cultivating that today as well. Next up, become a student of others. Consider how others around you at home or at work communicate nonverbally. What do their facial expressions say? What type of gestures do they use? Becoming familiar with their nonverbal communication patterns help you recognize when they might be feeling a certain way quicker because you're actively watching for those cues. And it could even inform suggestions for your own changes. Next up, we need to look for incongruency, right? Those non-matching cues. We need to look for incongruent nonverbal cues in ourselves and in others. Do you say that you're fine and then slam the door to show that you're upset? This definitely gives those around you mixed messages. Or maybe when someone is speaking with you, they say yes while they're shaking their head no. Another example of incongruent behavior. And the other thing is they might not even be aware of that. And so I have another suggestion for that in just a minute. Next up is to think before you act. Stop and think before you act, right? So this can help you eliminate or replace nonverbal behaviors that you've been wanting to change. And also it can give you that opportunity to make sure you're not having those incongruent messages. And ask before you assume. This is a big one. So certain types of nonverbal communications can mean different things in different cultures or to different people. They can also vary based on someone's personality. Just yesterday, I worked with a young man. He's 16, and I was worried that his silence meant something bad. When in reality, when I asked him, he was sitting back and admiring the organization that we had created in his closet. Without asking, I wouldn't have known. Before assuming that a person's body language or tone means something definitively, please ask. For example, I notice you won't look me in the eye when we speak. Are you upset with me? Right? Even just letting them know that that's happening and that you want to make sure that you're getting the right messages is very helpful. Another example is a friend who is always cold. She appears hunched over with her arms wrapped around herself like all the time, which could mean an angry or defensive attitude. And really, she's just cold. And if we didn't ask, we wouldn't know. So to recap, clear communication is kind communication. Clear is kind. We all communicate daily with others and with ourselves. And nonverbal communication cues tell us more than the actual words used. So let's pay attention this week to others communicating with us, to our own communication with others, and to our communication with ourselves. Clear is kind, my friends. Support around getting things done is what productivity coaching is all about. If it is time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you next week.